All right, both my predictions from last week have come true. Also, why is it that when all the metrics we look at here, save one, are pushing in the direction of being in favor of the buyer, still Utah's home prices are going up and making it more difficult for first-time home buyers to get into a home? Let's look at the numbers and their nuance. Hey, I'm Christopher McGee. I'm the owner of Halcyon Real Estate. Halcyon Real Estate is affiliated with the Keller Williams Market Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is the numbers and the nuance. Today is September 11th, 2023. You come here to find out exactly what the right now market looks like in Utah. And if you want a deeper dive on what all the numbers I go over in these videos mean, you can check out my Real Estate Numbers Explained video flagged at the top right of your screen right now. You can get solid on what all that means, but right now, let's go ahead and jump into looking at the previous week's numbers. All right, our inventory currently sits at 9,234. That is up by 256 and clearly still trending up from the beginning of the second quarter. This upward trend in inventory favors the buyers. Second is average days on market. That average number of days as of last week was 44. That's back down by 4 days from the previous week's 48. For the last couple of months, you can see the trend back up, even though the trend line from April to now overall is down. The right now market has this trending more up, and days on market trending up favors the buyers in the market. Average list price in the prior week came to $662,258. That's down from the previous week by just a bit shy of $63K. This number, you can see the trend line trending up, and obviously this trending up is in favor of the sellers. Average sold price was $651,557. That means sold price was under average list price by $10,701. That's a little bit closer to no difference between list price and sold price than we had the previous week. So jumping back up into this 10,000 range where we've been close, we've been around 5,000, we've been as low as 12,000, maybe 14,000. Obviously last week's dip was an exception and we talked about why last week, but we're in the normal range we've been since the beginning of the second quarter. And obviously when homes on average are selling for less than they are listed at, that is in favor of the buyers. Yeah, homes sold comes to 371. That means it whiplashed down from the highest we've seen it this quarter, well, either this quarter or the previous quarter, the second quarter, to the lowest we've seen it in either quarter, averaging out about where we've been at 530-ish homes sold per week. So with that trend line where it's at, even though it's been up and down from there, that just favors everyone. The market's moving, it's strong. That's good for buyers and sellers. Okay, the number of homes currently under contract comes to 4,518. That's down by just 30 from the previous week. We can see this has been trending down for several months now. The number of homes under contract at any given time going down, that trend is in favor of the buyers. Particularly if our inventory has been trending up at the same time, right? Inventory trending up and fewer of the homes on the market under contract at any given time means that there's more available homes to look at and make an offer on. There's more choices for buyers, giving buyers a little more leverage when they come to negotiate an offer. It's in favor of the buyer. The number of times last week that a seller decided they needed to reduce their asking price in order to attract buyers and get their property under contract, that number, price reductions, comes to 946. That's up by about 35 from the previous week, and this has trended up clearly since the beginning of the second quarter. That trend line is just riding right off the map. Obviously, list price being reduced more often is in favor of the buyers. And finally, the number of listing contracts that were either expired, canceled, or withdrawn from the MLS, that number comes to 267, back down from last week's first week of the month spike that we always see. That up and to the right trend line does favor buyers, but where it sits now, even well within its range, we're within a range that really favors everyone on the market. All right, let's talk about the nuance. So last week, there were two numbers that had moved in a direction that I suggested would be very concerning, and then I gave you the why of those and suggested that those numbers would be backing off the direction they had gone last week. And that is what happened. So the first of those numbers are inventory. Inventory dropped in the week of time that last week's video covered. It only dropped by 6, but it was the first inventory drop we've seen since the last 2 quarters, and I've celebrated it. every time it came up all this time. So I've been making a big deal of why it's so important that our inventory continues to come up. And with it going down for the first time in 6 months, there may have been some concern about, oh no, is inventory coming back down now? Well, it crossed the 9,000 threshold that it was bumping up against for a couple of weeks there. It's up by over 200 from the previous week. Inventory has continued to go up. The other data trend that happened last week that kind of caused some eye bulge was the average list price shooting up by over 100K from its previous week. And I suggested, well, I looked into it and I told you why that had happened, how there were a lot more homes that sold in that week's data set that were over $1 million in value, and one in particular that was $30 million. So that pulled that number up dramatically, and this week it's back off that high number. It's not continuing to travel up at that pace at all. Didn't come back down as much as we probably would have liked it to, but it's a good thing to know, isn't it? That the average list price of homes in Utah isn't traveling upward at a pace of 100K per week. Now you may have noticed that I did one little thing different today in this video that I don't usually do in the numbers and nuance videos that I make, and that is that after telling you what each data set looked like in this last week, I told you whether that was favoring buyers or sellers in the way that it was trending. So there were 6 of the numbers that we look at every week that I characterized as at least moving in the direction of favoring buyers in our market, and that obvious list price, average list price traveling up that's clearly in favor of the sellers. How is it that not all the numbers together pulling in favor of it being a buyer's market have pulled it quite in that direction yet? Well, yet is kind of the key word that I said there. And in order to understand why this is happening, you got to understand how far in seller's market territory we were before things started to move back in the other direction. It was still just a year and a half ago that our inventory was sitting at 1,500 to 2,000. It was still just a year and a half ago that days on market average was like 5 to 10. It was still just a year and a half ago that the difference between average list and average sold price was very much consistently in the seller's favor. And it was just a year and a half ago that the number of price reductions happening per week was abysmally low. So all of those things were just shooting average list price just sky high up into the air. And that shot our home values so high into the sky that the downward pressure that all of these trends, all of the data sets that we're looking at now, all this pressure of things moving in the buyer's market direction, all that pressure isn't placing it. It didn't just pick us up from where we were and put us in a buyer's market. It's been softening the level at which we're in a seller's market still. So things still trending so much of what we look at in these data points still trending in the direction of being in the buyer's favor. Let's just keep praying that they do, and in particular that our inventory continues to travel up. Seasonally speaking, it's anticipated that that will continue to happen. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. If you or anybody you know is thinking to move in or around the state of Utah in the coming months, please feel free to reach out to me. Whoever you partner with as your realtor, I hope that they are highly communicative. I hope that they are highly professional. I hope you can count on them to represent your best interests always. And I hope that they know the numbers and the nuance of those numbers. They should know the market like the back of their own hand. And of course, as always, if you'd like to stay updated on how the Utah housing market is going from week to week and be as educated on that topic as I am, then there's not going to be a better way than to subscribe to this channel, get these weekly updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.